Welcome back. The contract between the United Auto Workers Union and the big three Detroit car makers expires in just over 24 hours, really about 30 hours from now. Now, whether they can reach an agreement to avoid a strike as early as Friday, still unclear. The UAW president, Shawn Fain, gave this update here a short time ago.
The big three can afford to immediately give us our fair share. If they choose not to, then they're choosing to strike themselves, and we are not afraid to take action.
The Democratic Congresswoman from Michigan, Debbie Dingell, is one of her state's most influential politicians, been so for a while now. She's talking to all parties involved in this dispute, and she joins us live. Congresswoman, thank you for being here on the Hill on NewsNation. I know you said yesterday that this was essentially a 50-50 coin flip as to whether or not this would be a strike. As we stand here 30 hours away, how do you handicap it now?
Look, I think there's a good chance that there could be a strike, but I've been around a long time, and I know the toughest and nittiest gritty negotiations come down to the wire. And as you say, we got approximately 30 hours left. And I know that all the parties are prepared to work all night and into the hours tomorrow. So I hope everybody's listening to each other. I know how tough and difficult these negotiations are.
You say all parties. Obviously, there's the UAW, there's the big three automakers, but the White House and the president himself, as you know, Congresswoman, have injected themselves and are involved in this. What is the White House doing right now? And has the president done enough in your estimation?
So first of all, I don't think you can say injected themselves. These negotiations are between the union and the companies. All of us, people like me who love my state, I'm a car girl, I love my workers. I know how important and critical these are. The White House knows the impact that this could have on the economy, and I think the whole country is going to be reminded once again about how the American auto industry is the backbone of the American economy. I think that there have been many discussions that the president has talked to each of the CEOs and urged them to be at the table working in good faith to find a solution. I know he's talked to the President Fain several times, and in the end, this has got to get done at that negotiating table between those partners.
What do you make of what Shawn Fain, he was doing a Facebook Live, I believe, this hour, said, we may strike all three at once. If there's no deal by midnight tomorrow night, we will strike. We will not strike all of our facilities at once. But he's basically saying they'll go after all the companies and it'll be targeted.
I have been very clear with people because the President Fain has been very clear with me and those that would listen that this would not be or foul what we have seen before in the typical auto negotiations, that there would not be one target, that he was going to target all three companies, and that anybody who does not have an agreement by tomorrow night, that it wasn't midnight tomorrow night, 11:59, isn't just a reference point, it is a hard date. And he will target all three companies if they have not reached agreement with them. That is real, and I have known that and have said to people, listen to him. He means it.
Know your state well, Congresswoman. Lived there for 4 years. And when you're in Michigan, you're in Ohio, you know just how important the auto industry is. You talked about the economic impact. I'm wondering if you can explain, if there is a strike, what you fear the economic impact will be.
Well, first of all, I'm going to have people that I care about, people I know, people that are my neighbors that are working in what we call the OEMs, GM, Ford, or Stellantis plants, are immediately going to be on picket lines and making $500 a week instead of their normal salary. But we have a supplier industry that also is, quite frankly, been in fragile condition for a while, whose liquidity is often closer than people realize. And the supplier industry is going to immediately be impacted. And then in the the communities that these plants are in, that people work in and live, the diners, the different stores. This has a trickle-down impact very, very quickly. And unfortunately, it is a reminder to people of how important manufacturing.
I got to run, but can you put a dollar figure on it?
I'm not an economist. It'll have serious consequences.
Got it. All right. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, we appreciate the time. It is clearly the big story.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.